There are a lot of upcoming anime games on the horizon, probably a lot more than you imagine and definitely a lot more than we have today on this list. However, I find these to be the most exciting upcoming games and we could be covering them on this channel. We're just not because of reasons. Number 10, Gundam Versus, or Gundam games in general. Gundam Versus is a team battle game where each player controls a Gundam. A Gundam is kind of a mech. There are many types of Gundams, each with their own unique attacks, movement abilities, and gameplay style in general. The Gundam series is very popular in Japan, and some of that popularity has now spread to the West. And the games are so successful over there that they haven't stopped making them since 1991. So why aren't we covering them? First of all, despite the release date of Gundam Versus being in September for the West, the game is already out in Japan. So for a channel who makes a living off of analyzing and speculating about what the game's going to be, without knowing how to read Japanese, I'm just gonna predict a lot of things wrong. Plus, the information is all out there, so I just can't understand it. And also, I was never a big mech guy, so I never enjoyed Gundam personally. I was the kid that didn't like the Transformers. I was the kid that liked the Power Rangers, but as soon as they got into their Zords and started fighting with the robots, I turned the TV off. I guess it's just not for me, and if you want to learn more about Gundam games, I'll be honest, I'm afraid you'll have to look somewhere else. We're probably never gonna do it on this channel. Number 9, Pokemon games. Be it the latest release with Sun and Moon, the upcoming Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon Pokken Tournament, or even the upcoming Pokemon RPG announced for the Nintendo Switch. There is so much to cover with Pokemon that many people have dedicated their entire YouTube channels to the Pokemon series. So why are we not covering them? Well, I mean, so many games, this means a big time investment, and investing in the Pokemon series would probably mean I wouldn't be able to focus as much on Shinobi Striker and Dragon Ball FighterZ and other games like that, which I personally enjoy a lot more. For Shinobi Striker and Dragon Ball FighterZ, there aren't a lot of news coming out, at least not for someone who's trying to make weekly videos with those games, meaning there's space for something else, but Pokemon would take most of that space. And then it would take all the space and even eat the space that it doesn't even have. I won't say that we'll never cover Pokemon games in the future, but it's certainly going to be a tough task. And besides, there are only 151 real Pokemon. Everything else is fake crap. Come at me, haters. Number 8. Ys or Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana. Some people call this series Ys, some people call this series Ys. I'm gonna call it Ys until someone corrects me, and then I'm probably gonna keep calling it Ys. This is a series of JRPGs that started back in 1987, but unlike a lot of long-running series, the plot is actually connected, meaning that in order to get the full picture, you need to at least play the previous 7 games, not to mention the spin-offs. It's not like Final Fantasy where each game has its own individual story and its own brand new characters. Each game follows up the previous one. So why not cover it? Well, some people actually say that the story in Ys is a throwaway, and even taking that into consideration, JRPGs usually take hundreds of hours to complete. So even if the gameplay is interesting, which it looks interesting to me, it's like having an MMORPG boss fight for a single character. Full of cool mechanics and demanding some tight execution, it looks promising to me, but I can't play hundreds of hours of a game if I'm not enjoying a story. Plus, since I never got into the Y series, there's a lot to learn before covering the next game, so for now, this is a hard pass. Number 7, .hack GU Last Recode. This is the next game from CyberConnect 2, the developers behind the Storm games, and it's also a remaster of their first games. .hack GU came out in 2006 for the PlayStation 2, and it's a beloved cult classic. It simulates an MMORPG while actually being a single-player game, and back in the day, 3 .hack GU games came out, and they're all packaged in The Last Recode, along with a brand new volume that no one has ever seen. So why not cover it? You know what, we might actually cover this game in the future, but while it's great that this remaster comes with the first 3 games, a lot of our coverage actually happens before the game is out. So I think YouTubers out there who have actually played the .hack GU games, they should be the ones covering this one, and I should be giving them space. I like the premise, and I'm curious about the previous games, but since there's a remaster coming, I'm not gonna go play some old games. I'll wait for the remaster to come out, and I'll play them once they're new again. But that makes it hard to know what I'm talking about before the game comes out. So for now, pass. Number 6, the new Shin Megami Tensei. When the Nintendo Switch got announced, Atlus said they were working on a new Shin Megami Tensei game. Shin Megami Tensei gave birth to one of my favorite JRPG series, which is the Persona series. Granted, I only played Persona 5, but I immediately fell in love with it. Persona took a lot from Shin Megami Tensei, but still I haven't given those games a chance yet. And why is that? Well, most of the Shin Megami Tensei games were never released in the West, and my Japanese isn't nearly good enough for me to play a full game in Japanese and understand it. And that's pretty much why we're not covering it. Atlus doesn't even know if this new Shin Megami Tensei is coming to the West, and if it's not, no one who watches my channel is gonna play it because they don't understand it, so it's kind of pointless to do that. I would very much like to dive into the Shin Megami Tensei series, but I don't think Atlus wants me to. Number 5, Waihime Matsuri. Chances are you haven't heard about this one yet. It's one of the most obscure titles on this list. There are a lot of anime visual novels out there. Most of them are dating simulators, which is why this one caught my attention. It's a horror visual novel with some amazing art. So why aren't we covering it? Because I just heard about it a couple of days ago. That's the main reason why. But also, visual novels are all about the story. You might notice my videos are usually focused around gameplay, features, playable characters. I make some story videos here and there, but I don't like to dive into that subject too much. Learning about a story before the game is out usually ruins the experience more than it helps. Even if it doesn't spoil anything, even if we just talk about the setting. Learning about it can lead you to make theories or what's gonna happen, and it can lead you to being disappointed when the outcome is different from what you imagined. So I find it hard to cover visual novels for that same reason. Number 4, Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom. Ah yes, one of the most gorgeous upcoming games. I'm a Studio Ghibli fan, which should surprise absolutely no one, because they're awesome and we're all fans. And with the Studio Ghibli at its back, this game is looking absolutely gorgeous, and I'm a sucker for visuals, as some of you may already know. The problem with Ni no Kuni is I don't have easy access to the first game. It came out for PlayStation 3, and I was an Xbox guy on the previous generation. What can I do? The second game is now coming out to the PlayStation 4, which I own, and the PC, which is super weird. PC gamers never got to experience the first game. Who's gonna jump into a story-heavy game without having played the first one? And even if you don't need to have played the previous game, as is often the case with AAA titles, unfortunately the same doesn't go for YouTube videos, especially when it comes to game mechanics. The mechanics in Ni no Kuni 2 seem to be an evolution of the first game, and only after spending hours with those mechanics in the first game would I be able to actually break down properly what's happening with Ni no Kuni 2. It seems to borrow some tips from Pokemon as you capture creatures and use them to fight your enemies, but other than that, I don't know much about the game, and despite it looking damn good, I don't think I'm the best person to cover it. It's not out of the question, but I'd rather leave it to someone who knows what they're talking about. Number 3, City Shrouded in Shadow. A game set in fictional Japan, which is being attacked by shadows and monsters. It's a character-driven action game where the player choice matters, and you must survive in modern-day Japan as giant kaiju fight each other. So why aren't we covering it? This is yet another game that we don't know if it's ever gonna come out in the West, and that's not reason enough for us not to cover, but also, I'm not sure we can call this an anime game, just because it takes place in Japan and has giant monsters. Kaiju are very much a part of Japanese cinema and not necessarily just anime. But the concept of an anime game is so subjective nowadays. For instance, I would say the Metal Gear Solid series is 100% anime. If you disagree, catch me outside. Number 2, Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. This is an adventure visual novel with 2 distinct moments in gameplay. In one of those moments, you play your school life, where you interact with other characters and progress through the story, gathering some clues about a murder. And then you have the class trials, where you try to solve the murder by shooting the evidence at the other characters. It's got a great sense of style, incredible humor too, so why not cover it? This is another game that's already out in Japan, so if I knew Japanese, I would actually know what's coming instead of speculating. And yet, it's another visual novel, very story heavy, meaning that after I break down game mechanics, there's not a lot left for me to talk about, unless I'm spoiling stuff. Plus, I never got into Danganronpa, as it doesn't look like my style of game. Number 1, Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts is mostly known for being a crossover between Disney and Final Fantasy characters, and apparently now Pixar as well. But the heart of this game really comes from its original characters and original plot. They're action games with interesting mechanics, a lot more depth than what it might initially look like, and the lore here is the shining cherry on top of the cake. So why not cover it? Oh boy. Kingdom Hearts is fantastic. Back on the PlayStation 2, I played both Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't remember much, but I do remember being confused by Kingdom Hearts 2 since the very start. That's because, as a friend of mine once told me, there are no spin-offs in Kingdom Hearts games. So, Chain of Memories, 358 over 2 days, Birth by Sleep, Recoded, 2.8, all those games matter to the plot. And having just finished 358 over 2 days, I still have a long way to go. A long way to go to even begin to understand what they've shown in the trailers of Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, I could analyze the gameplay and talk about it, but I'm afraid I'm gonna spoil Kingdom Hearts games that I haven't played yet. I guess we could say yes, I guess we can announce it now. Coverage of Kingdom Hearts 3 is definitely coming, but first I need to finish the other games. I've been live streaming them with a friend. If you want to watch us do it, go to Magical Noob Play, the YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the description down below. And there you go, folks, 10 upcoming anime games that we're not covering, and that's why, at least not yet. But I could be swayed. If you want me to cover an upcoming anime game, please don't hold back. Let me know in the comments down below. Or maybe you're happy with what I've been doing so far and would much rather watch my analysis of the Shukaku mission on Shinobi Striker right here. If you're in the mood for something else, you can also click if you're in the mood for something else, you can also click right here. But as always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Globku, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!